Uh, Thank you for joining us. We're here today to discuss Mass Cultural Council's grants for Creative Individuals program. Just want to mention the art that you see on this page is by Beta Asbridge. All of the artwork that you see today during the presentation either features or was created by artists that Mass Cultural Council has had the honor to fund at some point in time with a direct grant. As you saw us working out at the beginning, we are providing live captioning as well as American Sign Language interpretation for this webinar. To turn on or hide the captions, click the captions at the bottom of your, or I think it's live transcript at the bottom of your Zoom window, and let us know if we can help you. We will use the Q&A section of Zoom for questions. So type all your questions in the Q&A, and I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Again, welcome to you. My name is Dan Blask. My pronouns are he, him. I am a slender, middle-aged Caucasian male with a bald head and glasses and a dark mustache and beard. I manage programs for artists, culture bearers, and creative practitioners at Mass Cultural Council. I am so grateful that you took the time today to join us and learn a little bit about our grant. Joining me today as presenters are my colleagues Kelly Bennett and Maggie Holtzberg. Together, the three of us make up the artists team at Mass Cultural Council. And if you take only one thing from this webinar, I hope it's this: Mass Cultural Council is your state agency supporting the creative and cultural sector. And as the artists team at Mass Cultural Council, it is literally our job to support you in your creative work. Maggie and Kelly and I are talking about the grants for creative individuals today, and whether it's this grant or a future grant or service, we look forward to having the opportunity to support you. I also want to thank and acknowledge my colleague Charles Baldwin, whose voice you heard at the beginning, orienting us and supporting our access initiatives and working with the American Sign Language interpreters, Michael and Samara, and also Rebecca, our live captioner from Partners Interpreting. We deeply appreciate your work as well. If you have questions during today's webinar, please put them in the Q&A feature. To access the Q&A, you can click the link at the bottom of your screen, and your question may be answered as we are on an appropriate slide, or it might be answered later in the process. If we don't get a chance to answer your question, perhaps because it is specific to your circumstance, please follow up with us later on after the webinar, and we will be happy to answer your question and support you. I want to mention too that a recorded version of this webinar with captions will be published on Mass Cultural Council's YouTube page, YouTube channel that is. We will also share that video as well as slides from this presentation on our online resource, ArtSake. Today's agenda, we will give you a program overview of the grants for creative individuals, discuss who is eligible to apply, tell you about the application, give you a sense of the timeline, and answer any questions that you might have. The grants for creative individuals, which we are thrilled to roll out this year, is our primary grant for artists, culture bearers, and creative practitioners. So the program accepts applications from artists and creative individuals in all creative fields. In the past, if you've applied to our programs, you may have applied by discipline. Maybe you even had to wait out a year. The Grants for Creative Individuals supports creativity equitably throughout the Commonwealth and accepts applications from creatives in all fields. I want to mention this slide features a past grantee from Mass Cultural Council, Fabiola Mendez. The program mission of the Grants for Creative Individuals is to equitably advance creativity throughout the Commonwealth with unrestricted grants to individuals who demonstrate achievement of creative expression and commitment to their artistic or cultural practice. So who is eligible to apply? Well, you are eligible to apply if you are an artist, culture bearer, or creative practitioner active in any artistic, cultural, or creative discipline or cultural tradition. This art here is a detail of work by David Antonio Cruz. You also need to meet some other program eligibility criteria. To apply, you need to be 18 years of age or older. You need to be a Massachusetts resident now at the time that you apply. You also need to be a resident at the time the awards are announced, which should be spring of 2024. So you cannot have received a grant from us, a direct grant from Mass Cultural Council over $2,000 within the last 3 years. If you received a grant from us within the last 3 years that's over $2,000, an example would be the Cultural Sector Recovery Grant last year, or prior to that, the Artist Fellowships Grant. Within the last 3 years, we ask that you wait out a period of time. It's Mass Cultural Council's hope to reach as many artists and creative individuals as possible. And so while we hope that we can support you again in the future, we are asking recent grantees over $2,000 to wait out this year. If it turns out you are not eligible to apply for the Grants for Creative Individuals, we would encourage you to go to the panelist registration tab on our grants management system if you have any interest in serving as a reviewer for the program. To continue program eligibility, you cannot be a full-time undergraduate student or a full-time graduate student in the arts. Part-time students are eligible to apply. And you cannot apply if you are a Mass Cultural Council staff member or a member of the governor-appointed council or a family of either one of those. The grants in the Grants for Creative Individuals program are unrestricted, and they are $5,000. By unrestricted, we mean you use it any way that you choose to support your work and your creative life going forward. We don't ask you to tell us how you're going to use the grant, and we don't ask you after the fact for a final report. So what is in the application form? Oh, pardon me. I'm going to go back a slide. I want to acknowledge this work on this slide is a painting by Danny Schmidt. In the application form, we will ask for some brief personal info, your contact info. We will ask for an artist narrative, a sample of your creative work, and then there are several funding priority questions. Talk a little bit more about the artist narrative. This section is meant to be brief. We have limited it by space of 1,500 characters. or 3 minutes or fewer. And we give both character count and time limit because you can submit either through text, or if you'd rather submit your narrative through a video or audio file, you have the opportunity to do that, and the limit is 3 minutes. So when you are submitting your artist narrative, here are some things to consider. The program is meant to support artists who demonstrate achievement of creative expression and commitment to their artistic or cultural practice. So those are the areas that you should consider when you are putting together your artist narrative. What do we need to know about your work? What are you trying to achieve with your creative expression? How can you demonstrate your commitment and ongoing commitment to your work? This slide features opera singer Vanessa Nagdi. I'm going to go back because I realized I forgot the last two. This slide features painting by Angela Ailes. And this slide features an installation view of work by Bofidi Opatubo. As far as the work samples that we ask you to submit, this is also meant to be brief. There is a total of 5. That's the number to keep in mind. You have a total of 5. That can be 5 images, that can be 5 pages, that can be 5 minutes. It can be some combination thereof. But the important thing to remember is 5 total. So you can submit document file, you can submit images such as JPEGs, and or you can submit video files and audio files, and all of the listed files are listed both in our guidelines as well as in the application. This slide features work by Ronald Loris, and I wanted to pause for a moment and see, Kelly and Maggie, whether you're seeing any questions in particular about the work samples or about artist narrative or other aspects that we've talked about so far.
Hi, Dan, this is Kelly. A question about an artist work sample and the completion requirement for the last 5 years. If someone was a filmmaker, for example, and created a film 10 years ago, but they still continue to share it through public events and screenings, can that film be included as a work sample?
Thank you. This is Dan. That's a good question. It's really only the artist can truly decide when a work is done. I guess one question would be, have any changes, even small ones, been made to the work in more recent years, in the last several years? You could also make the argument that the screenings and the process of the screenings is its own creative work. So that's not a very direct answer to your question. It really is up to you as far as whether you feel it's still in some way a work in progress or there was progress on it within the last 5 years. So thank you. That was a good question.
Another work sample question. For theater artists who might not have video or audio, can they submit website, posters, scripts?
Great. Thank you. This is Dan. So we don't accept web links, but yes, we do accept scripts for playwrights and other script writers or theater creators, images. So it's true, if you don't have video, there will be you'll need to find out some way of documenting your creative work. You mentioned a video. There are also ways that you can video record a website. So you could conceivably, if that's the only place where you have your work featured, you could conceivably make a video where you're demonstrating some of your work. But we need samples to be uploaded into the application form.
Hi, Dan. This is Maggie
Hi,
here.
Maggie.
This is another work sample question. Could one of the sample files be a link to a page that introduces and explains a collection or exhibit?
Thank you, Maggie. This is Dan. Again, we can't accept links, but a document that included that explanation could be, let's say, a one-page document. That could be one of your 5 total. Thank you. Good question.
Mhm.
Okay, why don't we continue? And thank you for those questions, and continue to add them to the Q&A. So how will the grants be decided? The grants will be decided through a process that includes geographic distribution, funding priorities, and scores by reviewers from the Massachusetts cultural and creative community. And the painting here is work by Nayana LaFond. To discuss the geographic distribution a little bit more, we want to reach artists and creative individuals in every community in the Commonwealth, as far throughout the Commonwealth as we can. The way we are ensuring this is that we are allocating the same percentage of grants for each county as we receive applications from that county. So the example I'm giving, if we happen to receive 7% of applications from Suffolk County, 7% of the grants would be allocated to applicants from Suffolk County. This slide includes an image of work by Maria Molteni. I mentioned that part of the review process is also funding priorities. So what do we mean by funding priorities? If you as an applicant meet any of these funding priorities, you will receive a modest rating advantage in the review process. I want to mention that funding priorities are distinct from eligibility. So it may be that you'll find you do or do not meet a funding priority, but even if you don't meet a funding priority, that does not mean you're not still eligible to apply. If you are eligible and interested, please do. We expect that some applicants will meet some of these priorities. Some may not meet them, and that's fine. The funding priorities are just one aspect of the review process. So what are the funding priorities? One of the funding priorities is new grantees, and we're defining that as applicants who have not received a direct grant from Mass Cultural Council within the last 6 fiscal years. To clarify, we are not counting local cultural council grants in that calculation. That would primarily affect artist fellowships grantees, traditional arts, mentor artists within the last 6 years. And again, that's not eligibility, that's just a funding priority. There's also a funding priority for historically underfunded applicants. So who do we mean by this? This is 3 groups of people. First, applicants who identify as BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, Latina, Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, and all other ethnicities of color. Historically underfunded applicants also includes applicants who identify as having a disability. And historically underfunded applicants also includes applicants whose creative practice has been limited by poverty. To receive this funding priority, you'll need to provide proof of participation in one of the anti-poverty programs listed on our website. It includes SNAP, Medicaid or Mass Health, SSI, public housing, and others. The full list is on our website. And there is a funding priority for culture bearers or traditional artists. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. This image is from a project by Michelle Falcone Fontanes, and it features Brenda Lee's Cepeda.
Dan,
what
I have
we-
a question.
Yes, please.
So, with the grant amount, does the $2,000 prior grant limit refer to a sum amount of all grants received or individual grants? For example, if someone received 2 grants of $15,000 each in the last 3 years, would they be ineligible?
That's a great question. This is Dan. I'm glad that we have supported you in the past. It's not cumulative. It's really about each individual grant. So, and this has to do with the eligibility. So if none of the grants received were over $2,000, then you would be eligible. Now, if any of those grants were within the last 6 years, you may not receive the funding priority for being a new grantee. But as long as the grants were under 2,000, you would be eligible to apply for the grants for creative individuals. Great question. Thank you, Kelly. Okay. What do you mean by culture bearers or traditional artists? We define culture bearer or traditional artists as an individual whose creative and artistic practice reflects the cultural heritage of a distinct community. Most often, or very often, a culture bearer or traditional artist is trained for years by a mentor artist or by a community elder or elders. Culture bearers carry a commitment to sustaining a living tradition, and that tradition and heritage is apparent in their learning, as I mentioned, but also in the work itself, in culturally specific materials, styles, and expression. And you can see in the image on this slide, which is work by Elizabeth James Perry, not only the style of this hand-sculpted wampum jewelry, but also the materials that Elizabeth James Perry used, the quahog shells. All of that has a very rich cultural significance relating to her heritage as an Aquinnah Wampanoag artist. So if you do feel that you meet the culture bearer priority, we'll ask several questions, such as how you learned and how long you've been working within your tradition, and also how your community regards your work. Lastly, I just want to say, if you have questions about whether, I just want to know more about culture bearers and the type of artists we mean, on our YouTube channel, if you watch the Keepers of Tradition playlist, you'll see a number of videos featuring artists we funded in the past as culture bearers and traditional artists. Artists that in the past may have applied for our traditional arts apprenticeships or for the artist fellowships in traditional arts. So you'll apply using our grants management system. One thing to mention is that if you happen to work at an organization, or let's say you have been a volunteer with a local cultural council, first, we appreciate the great work you're doing in the creative community. But beyond that, if you are logged in as an organizational account or as an LCC account, you will not see the grants for creative individuals in the current opportunities tab. That's because our system identifies what opportunities are available to you based on your profile. So if you have a profile already that's affiliated with an organization or with a local cultural council, you'll need to create a new profile with a different email address as an individual. Some of the funding priorities that I mentioned earlier draw from your user profile in our grants management system. So when you log in, click on the My Profile tab just to make sure all of your information is as up to date and complete as possible. Before I move on to grant facts, are there questions that I might want to address first, Maggie or Kelly?
Dan, this is Kelly.
Hi,
As
Kelly.
an actor, can I include clips of TV shows, movies I have roles in?
Thank you. Hi, this is Dan. Yes, absolutely. Again, within the time limits and within the parameters of it being work within the last 5 years, yes, work that you submit is not work that's going to be shared publicly without coming back to you first. I mean, it's just work to demonstrate your work as an artist. So the clips of your work as an actor, yes, would be eligible.
Hi, Dan, this is Maggie. There seems to be a lot of confusion about the number 5 here. Here's the question. Is it 5 minutes total or 5 pages total on all 5 submissions? Or is each document or video 5 minutes or 5 pages? I'm confused by the question, but you can see the gist.
Yes, and thank you. This is Dan. I appreciate that. It's if you count up the number of images, pages, minutes of all your submissions, it should be 5 or fewer. So it's not 5 per, it's 5 total. So I'll give you some examples. Let's say I'm a poet and some of my work is on the paper, but also some of it is performance poetry. I could submit 2 pages of written poetry and then a 3-minute video of my performance. Or let's say I am a sculptor who also does interactive installation work. Maybe I submit 3 still images of my work, 3 JPEGs, and then a 2-minute video of my work out in the public. The total is 5, and I just want to recognize that is a limited number, which we understand, but that will be one of the hard jobs that you have as an applicant, is figuring out in a small number of characters or minutes and a small number of work samples how to convey your achievement of creative expression and commitment to your artistic and cultural practice. Okay.
Dan, here's
yes.
another question on work sample. Could I
Great.
send a CD with a reel of songs?
Hi, thanks, Dan. Now we can't accept physical submissions, so hopefully you can find a way to derive the audio files from that CD. If you need help with that, we are absolutely happy to help any way we can. But we do need submissions to be uploaded into the application form, not mailed to us nor linked as websites.
Another question, Dan, this is Kelly. Regarding web links, if the work is browser-based or interactive, what would be the best way of demonstrating the interactivity inherent to the project or projects? A screen recording?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hi, this is Dan. In that case, the best solution would be a screen recording, and that way you can document and curate the experience according to what you think is most authentic and also makes the best case for your application.
I have another question. This is Kelly in the work sample question. By achievement of creative expression, are you talking about recognition in a public forum? are people in all stages of artistic career eligible to apply?
Thank you. That is a great question. This is Dan again. To answer the second part first, yes, we are accepting applications and encouraging and welcoming applications from artists in all career stages. And we're hoping that the grant list reflects artists who are just starting out, artists who've been at it for a number of years, as well as artists who've been working for many years. So what we mean by achievement of creative expression is not recognition, exterior recognition per se. What we're most interested in is what you are trying to do with your work, the questions that drive your work, the goals that you set forth for yourself in your work, and then the strongest applications will be clear about what that is in the artist narrative, and then we'll also demonstrate those same facets in the work samples that are uploaded.
Dan, this is Kelly. Manuscripts single-spaced or double-spaced?
Thank you. Readable. So whether that is space and a half or double spaced, a block of text will not serve you. A thick, dense block of text will not serve you well. So readable. If that turns out to be space and a half, we're not going to be running it through some kind of I don't know, space calculator to make sure, but we need it to be legible, and you won't be serving yourself by sending something with a small font or too tightly packed text. Great question. Thank you.
Another question from a musician, largely an accompanist for singers and directors of musical projects. It's hard to, it's not always easy to isolate the artist's own contribution to collaborative work. So how should one proceed when their work is collaborative?
Yeah, that is a great question. This is Dan again. If the work is collaborative, just be clear about what your part in that collaboration is. It won't be held against you if there are other artists also included in the video. For many art forms, they are collaborative always. Film, music, any kind of performance will have most likely have dance will most likely have a number of collaborators. So really the key is just being clear in the work when you're doing the work sample section. There's a box called the work sample information, I believe it is, and that has a field where you can explain exactly what your contribution to the work sample is. And so that's how I would handle collaborative work. And it's understood that artists work together. This grant is meant for individuals, so we are not accepting applications from collaborative teams. But if you are in a collaborative team, apply as yourself and just explain your part in the collaboration. Thank you. Great question. Why don't I go on and then we'll return to questions in just a moment. I just wanted to give a few facts about the grant. If you are selected as one of the grantees, first of all, great, yippee. But beyond that, I just want to make sure people know that these grants are taxable. They're considered taxable income by the Department of Revenue. We do not mail out a 1099 form, but the state will generate it, and it can be found on the state's website. And there are instructions about doing that, finding that on our website. There's a new contract process this year. Much of it is online, which is great, but I do want people to know that one of the documents needs to be notarized. So it needs to be printed out and brought to a public notary. So you might already consider, looking up what it would mean to find a notary in your community. Many banks, I know my own bank does offer this service as long as I make an appointment, but it's something that to keep in mind for grantees. Also, if you receive a grant and you receive public benefits that are income limited or that include asset limitations, just know that this grant could have an impact on those benefits. It's good to start looking into what those impacts might be now. We do have some information about this on our website. There's a fact sheet that you can find a link to in our guidelines. We are working with an organization that can provide benefits counseling to grantees to best understand what any impact on their benefits might be, and also how to minimize any impact to public benefits, such as SSI or SSDI or other income limited benefits. This slide includes an image by Malika Ross. The deadline to apply is December 11th, 2023, a second to midnight. So you really have all day, but we cannot accept late applications. So best to get started and completed well in advance. We expect to announce the results of the award by March or April 2024. As a state agency, the grant payment process can take some time, so we would anticipate grants arriving in May or June of 2024. As I mentioned earlier, there is no final report necessary for this program. I know we'll need to jump back into questions in a minute, but I want to quickly mention some other services that we offer. So we have an online resource called ArtSake. There is a weekly roundup of opportunities for artists that includes other grants, calls to artists, residencies, and then the site also includes other tips and resources. There's a creative space finder. So it's just a good thing to know about and to periodically visit. If you are looking for a job in the arts or in the cultural sector, please visit our site, higherculture.org. And I'd strongly encourage artists to sign up for Mass Cultural's e-newsletters. The one that will give you news for artists is called Artist News. And this, you can do that on our website on the homepage, massculturalcouncil.org. This slide features fashion work by Katerina Ananzadio. And then we'll do our best to answer questions that have come into the Q&A, but if we don't get to your question, or if you want to follow up with other questions, the email is creative.individuals@mass.gov. And Kelly or Maggie?
Kelly.
Hi.
If the creator is an author, illustrator of children's books, would a PDF of a picture book dummy be considered one of the 5? Or is the 5 pages of that book the whole 5? So it's a question around PDFs and number of pages.
Sure, that's a great question. So this is Dan. We're not talking about files per se. So we're talking about pages, images, or minutes. And when I say images, I'm not talking about images embedded in a PDF. So in that case, if it's a PDF, the limit would be a 5-page PDF. So again, it's even conceivable you could submit more than 5 files if for some reason, say you had an audio file that was only 20 seconds and then you didn't quite meet the 1-minute mark. So it's not about files. Try not to get caught up on the number of files that you are uploading. It's really about pages, distinct images, and minutes if it's audio or video.
Dan, Kelly here. Can multiple individuals apply together for one project?
Hi, thanks, Kelly. This is Dan. So this grant is not based on projects. It's based on creative individuals. So conceivably, two individuals who are working collaboratively could use could use work samples that draw from the same work, let's say, the same project. The key is making very clear what your part in that collaboration is, and explaining that. Again, that we're not restricting how people use these grants. We hope some use them on projects. We hope some use them to advance their creative career, but you're not pitching a particular project in the application form. You're really pitching yourself as an artist, culture bearer, or creative practitioner. And I meant to mention this earlier. To give a sense of scale, we're looking at awarding approximately 375 grants of $5,000 each. Right now, our best approximation is that would be about 6 to 12% of the applications that we receive. So it will still be fairly competitive, but we're hoping to increase the number of artists that we reach each year.
Hi, Dan. Here's a question on priority. Can older artists be a priority group as ageism can limit funding opportunities?
Hi, thank you. This is Dan. Right now, there's no funding priority that is designated by age. One thing I would mention is that part of the application process is we are asking about career stage. And the reason we're doing that is we're going to look at our grant lists, our ranked list, when we generate the rankings for this program, and do an analysis based on making sure that we're distributing the grants equitably to the different career stages. So while we don't have a funding priority directly related to age, we are thinking about equitably supporting artists at different stages in their careers.
Dan, it's Kelly. Do you have a definition of disability?
Hi, thanks. This is Dan. We are using the American ADA disability definition as our definition. So and I know that's on our guidelines. It's in our guidelines and listed there. So it may be in the application form itself.
Hi, Dan, this is Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
This is just a different kind of question, so I'm going to repeat it. Can you talk a bit about the people who will be reviewing the work samples? Will the same people review submissions from all disciplines, types of work, that is poetry versus culture bearer, for instance?
Hi, thank you. That's a great question. This is Dan. We are anticipating that the reviewers will be looking at work from their same general category or discipline of their own work. So one of the things we'll ask you is the general category of your work, and then a little bit more information about how you categorize your work. And that's the information that we'll be using to sort of make those pairings of work with reviewers who have background in that same category. So thank you. Great question.
Hi, Dan, it's Kelly. I have a question whether art educators or producers, that type of thing, would be eligible to apply for this grant.
Yes, I'd say, hi, this is Dan. The answer is essentially yes, with the caveat that there needs to be some kind of sample that you can share and explain your contribution to said sample. So that's all. It needs to be there needs to be documentation that you could share and then conceivably make the case that of yourself as a contributor to that work. So by producer, I don't know if you mean film producer or music, but it's understood that there are artistic contributions by a producer. So just explaining kind of what your part as a producer was and how that's reflected in the work that you submit, the work sample you submit.
Here's a question, Dan, regarding the grant management system. If my older account is associated with an organization, using my personal email, will the system let me make a new account using my email?
Hi, thanks. This is Dan. That's a great question. It won't allow you to use the same email, so we can help you through that issue. There are a couple of different ways we could do it, and the best thing to do is probably follow up with us after this, separate from this conversation, and we'll help you create an individual profile. But that's one of the limitations of the system is that an email address is associated to a particular user profile, and you can't reuse the exact same email address for a different profile. But there are things we can do and ways around it. So follow up with us separately, and we will do our best to help.
Hi, Dan. Is there a need to provide documentation of a disability?
Hi, thank you. This is Dan. That's a great question. The answer is no. I'll add to that. There are several different funding priorities. On that particular funding priority for individuals who identify as having a disability, we're not asking for documentation. The funding priority for individuals whose work has been limited by poverty, there we are asking for documentation, and there are the different types of documentation requested are listed in the application form.
Here's a question again on work sample. This is Kelly. Can an applicant submit an audio file of a recorded song that was recorded over 5 years ago but is still singing today, similar to the filmmaker question?
Yes, I mean, hi, this is Dan. To me, that sounds like a yes. We're interested in what you're doing, and so if this is a sample of the work that you're doing now, yes, please do submit that.
Hi, Dan. This is Maggie. Someone's asking, does a curator qualify for this grant?
Hi, this is Dan. That's a great question. So, I would say the answer is yes, but somewhat qualified in that your work would need to be independent. So if you are employed, by the Cleveland Museum of Art, first of all, why are you applying for our grant? You're in Cleveland. But second of all, that would be considered part of your professional duties, and so it wouldn't really be appropriate for this grant. An independent curator, yes, I would say similar to some of the other sort of more nuanced circumstances that we've discussed. The key is really submitting samples of your work as a curator and then explaining both in the narrative and in the work sample information your role in what we're seeing in the work samples. I want to mention a little bit more about artists that are eligible and we're encouraging to apply. I mentioned artists in all creative fields. In the past, our grant in the Artist Fellowships program was limited to artists making new work. We're still encouraging artists making new work to apply for the grants for creative individuals who love new work. We're also accepting grants from performers, from artists who are performing past work, from designers, uh, theater artists of all kinds, hard to define artists, cross-disciplinary artists, drag artists, DJs, media, film, video, creative podcasters, essentially are expanding the number of artists that we're receiving applications from and welcoming to the program.
And just a quick question, when one goes to apply, do they have to do it all at once, or can they save a draft and log in and out?
This is Dan. That's a great question. Artists can save the draft and log out and go back in. When you go back in, it will be under in progress rather than current opportunities. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you start an application, you'll find it in the in progress section. I'd also mention sometimes the eligibility, the application starts with an eligibility quiz, and some of the questions, it's easy to misread them. So if you find yourself tripped up at that part, or the application says you're not eligible, just drill down a little bit and make sure that it wasn't a mistake on the question, and try again. If it turns out that you're not eligible this year, hopefully we can support you in the future.
Hi, Dan, it's Kelly. Do you know when the recording of this meeting will be available for people to view, and where they'd be able to find that link?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. Hi, this is Dan. I'd say within about a week, we will publish it on our YouTube channel, hopefully by the end of this week. And we will also include it on our online resource ArtSake. We'll include the video in ArtSake as well as the slides and links to the different, first of all, the guidelines and the application itself. So I'd say within a week, we would have that on the ArtSake site. This page includes detail of work by artist Dinora Justice.
This is Maggie. Two people have asked interesting questions about whether political art is funded or religious content of art, because of it being government.
Sure, great question. Hi, this is Dan. There are no limitations as to content. So the work can be political, work can have religious content. It's not limited. And so we're asking for individuals to submit works that really give a strong and authentic sense of the type of work that they do. So if that's the type of work that that best characterizes your work, then yes, I'd say submit that. We are holding one other info session in December 5th. But we are also holding some small group, what we're calling office hours, which really are just Zoom meetings that we're capping at a smaller number of attendees. The whole purpose is to allow folks the opportunity to ask us any questions they might have. But of course, we are always happy to receive your questions. either by email, creative.individuals@mass.gov, or you can find our phone numbers under the staff listing at massculturalcouncil.org. And we're happy to help you any way we can.
Hey, Dan, there was one more question I wanted to get under the wire. Are hip hop dancers eligible?
Thank you. This is Dan. Yes, hip hop dancers are eligible to apply. And it's so long as you meet the other eligibility requirements about Massachusetts residency and whatnot. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, one quick question. Will the
Sure.
answers to the questions that Kelly and I have been putting in here be also part of the thing that goes up on the YouTube channel? Don't know.
I would say not exactly. We're not planning necessarily to do a full readout of the Q&A, but maybe that's a good suggestion. Maybe we
Yeah.
can include some of the questions that recurred. That's great. We appreciate that. That's a really good idea.
Okay.
Well, again, please contact us if you have any questions. We appreciate your creative work, and we so appreciate that you took the time to join us today and learn about this program. Wish you all well, and again, look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions. Thanks again for joining us. And thank you so much, Michael and Samara, for providing the American Sign Language interpretation. Thank you also, Rebecca, for doing the live captioning. Deeply appreciated. Be well. Thank you.
All right.